Are you thinking about moving to Baltimore, Maryland? Are you relocating here? I'm John, I'm the Charm City property dude, and these are the top 5 pros and cons of why Baltimore City may or may not be the place for you. Go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button right here, and we're gonna get rolling after this. So one of the cons here in Baltimore City is the unfortunately, the homelessness is kind of out of control. There's a lot of folks that will panhandle. I was doing the video here for the last 5 minutes. I actually had a guy come up and ask me if I had any spare change. I usually don't because I have my credit card. Through bad policies, bad policing, the homelessness seems to be on it's on the rise, and I don't understand it because I've been to places like California, like Santa Monica, where actually the homelessness there was even worse. And usually the homeless people here don't do anything to break the law, but it's not beyond them to, like, if there's a vacant house, for them to go inside the vacant house and stay the night or move in. I know that is definitely a con here in Baltimore City. So if you don't like that con here in Baltimore City, you know, you also have the surrounding areas where it's not as worse. Like if you go up into Harford County, I think they had like a couple of homeless people, but anywhere where there's a wooded lot that's not sort of maintained by the state, they will pop up tents and they'll live there, so they'll be living off the grid. So that is definitely a con here in Baltimore City, would be the homelessness. One of the pros about living here in the city is that there are 9 great neighborhoods that are really nice to live in. And the best part about those neighborhoods is that each neighborhood encompasses a set of stores and restaurants. It's not like Amazon or the mall. When you go to, say, like Hampton, or you go to Mount Vernon, or I'm down here in Canton. Actually, I'm in Canton, Maryland right now. I'm sitting in front of the bagel shop, which is a great place to go get a bagel. But one of the pros to each of these neighborhoods is that they all have their individual mom and pop stores. So it's eclectic collections of different bars, and they all have different restaurants. And the best part about those restaurants is that, you know, one of the pros about Baltimore is that if you love seafood, if you love oysters, if you love shrimp, if you love crab cakes, this is the best place to be. Each one of these neighborhoods has a restaurant in that neighborhood. For instance, Campton has the cafe up there, and they serve crab cakes, and they're absolutely out of this world. Now, I'm not saying that the rest of Maryland doesn't have good crab cakes. There are some places that you would never believe that have the best crab cakes. Like, for instance, up in Harford County, there's a place called Box Hill Pizzeria that serves the best crab cakes I've ever had. And usually, I have a fine taste. I don't usually eat crab cakes, but I know Oprah came to town and they pointed out some place up in Towson or Lutherville about this place that had crab cakes. I actually went there and they weren't as good as Box Hill Pizzeria. So if you also can go like to the beach and get a crab cake, but I hate to tell you this, all the tourists go down to Ocean City, Maryland, and they usually send all the junk seafood down there. It's not as good as, say, like if you came up here and went to like Thames Oyster House or Mother's Oyster House. Each one of these neighborhoods has a different place that serves seafood. The oysters, the shrimp, the mussels, the crabs are out of this world. And the one thing about crabs is usually you don't eat those. Crabs is more of like a get together and talk with your family and friends, have a beer and pick crabs and talk about the bullshit of the day. So that is one of the pros of Baltimore City. Now, if you really want a good bagel spot here in Baltimore, I love bagels. You want to go to THB Bagel Place. It's located right here in the middle of Canton. I'm sitting in front of THB Bagel, having my bagel, my sesame seed bagel with strawberry cream cheese, and discussing pros and cons of Baltimore City. And the pro of the city is that you can't go anywhere in this city where there isn't a monument, a cannon, something that reflects back to the colonial days. And the houses even have colonial feel. On the outside, you can see it from the windows, you can see it from the doors, you can see it from the brick facade. But don't worry, the investors have gone in, and usually they have updated the inside, so it's all fresh, new, the latest colors. I mean, you have your apartment buildings, you have your sky rises, and there's nowhere in the Inner Harbor. You can go around the promenade that starts here in Canton and go all around, and you can hit the aquarium, you can hit the Science Center, you can hit Federal Hill, there's the Chesapeake. All these are museums. So if you're like into colonial stuff, if you're into history, Baltimore City has definitely got it. And not to mention, is the birth of the Star Spangled Banner. Francis Scott Key sat in a hotel right in the Inner Harbor and wrote the Star Spangled Banner. That's the newest version of history, as he saw the Inner Harbor getting pummeled by the British. And they got, there's Federal Hill. You can see the cannons that were up on Federal Hill during that time. Patterson Park had cannons. So that's definitely a pro. All the museums and stuff like that you can come down here and take a look at. And there's a plethora of parks that are dedicated to each one of these, like, I guess, heroes from the colonial days and from the time when the British were trying to take over the United States. So that's definitely a pro. So the next one is a pro and a con. I think it's a pro and a con. It's sports. If you love sports, we definitely have your sports teams. We have the Baltimore Orioles, we have the Ravens, and the problem is that Ravens are a great team when they're playing great. The Orioles are a great team when they're playing great. But when they play bad, oh my goodness, they play bad. Both of them are like hit and miss. Definitely the Orioles. One year they have pitching and no hitting. The next year they have hitting and no pitching. And that's all relative to the salary caps and stuff like that with the Orioles and the Ravens. The Ravens were right now in the middle of the Ravens season. They were doing great. They lost Lamar Jackson, which he was, he started out really good. He's got a couple of years under his legs, and now all of a sudden he's starting to slow down. So they brought another quarterback in because Lamar Jackson's injured. And the Ravens, as you know, they usually play to the caliber of the team they're playing. If they play Pittsburgh, it's going to be a great game. Pittsburgh always plays great. But if Miami, who was like last place, they play like crap, so then the Ravens, for whatever reason, they start playing like crap during that game. It makes no sense. When you think it should be a blowaway, the Ravens get blown away. You know what I mean? And when you think that they shouldn't have a chance, they come out and they play some football. And the Baltimore Orioles are not without exception. You also have like the Aberdeen Ironbirds, which is up in Hartford County, and you have the Bowie Bay Sox that are down in PG County, and then out in Frederick you have whatever the name of their team is. But you have a lot of great sports. We don't have a hockey team, so we have to share the Capitals with the DC. That's a great sport and a great crowd. Usually you go in there, it's inside the stadium's warm, and you usually have a good time with the people there. The Ravens, on the other hand, you might run into some rowdy fans, so you run into that. It's definitely the sports here in Baltimore are definitely a pro and a con. So another pro here of Baltimore is that we have some really top employers. I'm not saying that they hire just entry-level positions. These employers actually hire right up to the six-figure salaries, and I'm talking like John Hopkins with all the doctors. I think neuroscience doctors like the #1 pay position. It might be echocardiogram might be the next one. They pay in like the 400,000s. Then you have like John Hopkins, Bayview. You got Franklin Square. You got shock trauma. You got all these major hospitals in the area. So we see a lot of nurses and doctors in a lot of these downtown pocketed neighborhoods. For instance, Canton is real popular with the traveling nurse program. So we have a lot of people that are the traveling nurse program, and they're all hiring for top key positions, and anywhere from entry level all the way to the six-figure positions. Over in Port Covington, you got Under Armour. They're a big-time employer here in the state. They hire a lot of key positions, and they start from minimum wage all the way up to six-figure salaries. And I'm sure you've heard of Under Armour. Every sports team in the world wears Under Armour shirts. So that's definitely a pro here. You definitely have your employers. You have the Department of Defense as an employer. All of a sudden, Army, you have the Air Force. They're all located here, really good, great employers. And then also you have the state of Maryland, which you have everything in the state government, great employers. So you definitely, there's not a lack of jobs here. And in another video, I do like the top 5. And they're all hiring for top key positions, and anywhere from entry level all the way to, you know, the 6-figure positions. Over in Port Covington, you got Under Armour. They're a big time employer here in the state. They hire a lot of key positions, and they start from minimum wage all the way up to 6-figure salaries. And I'm sure you've heard of Under Armour. Every sports team in the world wears Under Armour shirts. So that's definitely a pro here. You definitely have your employers. You have the Department of Defense as an employer. All of a sudden we're getting like a ton of traffic here. You have the Department of Defense, you have the Army, you have the Air Force. They're all located here, really good, great employers. And then also you have the state of Maryland, which you have everything in the state government, great employers. So you definitely, there's not a lack of jobs here. And in another video, I do like the top 5. Evidently the mufflers in the city are like off the chain. Everybody needs a new muffler. It seems like they're all loud. So anyway, that's definitely a pro. All right, so a con in Baltimore City, the traffic. Right now I'm sitting here at THB Bagel, and all of a sudden they let out the floodgates in front of the place, and it's every car with a terrible muffler. Here comes another one. Must take the muffler off or they get stolen or something. But the traffic is terrible between like 6:30 and 8:30 in the morning going south out of the counties. Traffic is bad on 95 and throughout the city. And then again at about 2:30 to about 5 in the afternoon, traffic starts picking up and getting heavier going out of the city. So traffic here is definitely a con. You definitely, at certain times of the day, you want to stay away from 695, and you definitely want to stay away from 495 down in DC. Fun fact, I used to be an actor, and I used to audition for all these different casting companies. And the one down in DC, Carlin Davis, she used to say, hey, I got an audition for you. And I said, oh yeah, what time do you want me to come down? And she come down at 2:30, 3 o'clock. And I'm like, if you can allow me to come down at 11:30, I'll come down then. And that way I don't hit any traffic, because I knew after a couple times going down here at 3:30, the traffic coming back north around 495, 95, and 695 was absolutely terrible. So that's definitely a con here. If you don't like traffic, then maybe Baltimore City's not for you. But the good news is Harford County, Baltimore County, Howard County, Carroll County, and Anne Arundel County are all great places to live, and you don't experience as bad a traffic. So that's definitely a con. Well, that covers it, the pros and cons of Baltimore City. I hope you enjoyed this video. And listen, I get a lot of phone calls every day from great people just like you that call me up and email me or text me about maybe possibly moving to Baltimore. I absolutely love those phone calls. Keep them coming. If there's any time that you call, day, night, or weekend, don't worry. With real estate, I've got your back. I know a little bit about everything in this city and the surrounding counties. So even if you're moving to like Harford County or the surrounding 5 counties, I can help you out. Thanks for tuning in the video. Check out these other videos.